what was your intentions from going to, did you have it in mind? Like maybe this is a place where I can kind of reinvent myself or go
Mhm.
on trials, or was it like, I'm just going to switch my setting for a little bit and just kind of see what
Yeah,
happens?
I I had no intentions behind it. I think it was more, if I'm going to be honest with myself, like a running away moment. I felt really overwhelmed because I was a very intense kid about playing professional soccer. I think I was not one of those kids who didn't know what they wanted to be. I was like this, like Halloween, I was a soccer player and everything. And so to finish like college the way I finished it, which was like, yeah, we went to like the conference finals, but personally it was, it wasn't where I wanted to be going into an NWSL draft or, feeling like a top prospect. And it was just didn't know what to do with my life. And I just, yeah, I can't, there's not a lot of thinking that went into it. And I just wanted to go get space. And so I needed to go to the furthest place in the planet, which
That
was
you did, yeah.
literally to Australia. So I needed space. And I think I just wanted to be not a football player for a little bit and to see what that was like and to meet people that didn't know me as that. And so I think it allowed me to come back into the game like on my own terms
Mm-hmm.
and to see and to like dip my toe in the water. Where if you're back home and you dip your toe in the water, maybe everyone, has an opinion or this and that. And it's kind of like, oh, well, if I messed up at training or had a bad game, like my family wouldn't know, my friends wouldn't know, the coaches. And, so it was more just about, it ended up bringing me back to football, but it was more just about myself. And, I love beaches, I love traveling, and so I just threw it all into one experience and booked a one-way ticket and then left. So
Beautiful. I love that.
if I
Yeah.
think about it now, I don't know how I don't know if I would do it if I would do it, but at the time I just think I blacked out and then did it.
But I mean, it's kind of like you said, is like the mind state that you were in at that time really called for something like that. Like, I
Yeah,
think
it
it's
did.
hard to kind of empathize with that now because you're not in that situation
Oh,
mentally.
that is such a good point.
So like
Wow.
that person back then had to do
Right.
something like that and had to change,
Wow.
had to kind of just flip the switch, rewire a little bit.
Whoa, that was profound.
Thank you.
I'm gonna remember that because that was actually that's a really good take. I've never thought of that.
No, I mean, just coming, like, especially with American players coming out of college, wanting to go pro. We kind of touched on it before, or at least
Yeah.
wanting to try it, seeing where it can take them, traveling, and all this stuff. What kind of advice would you give them for how to go about it?
There there's nothing that you cannot figure out. There is nothing you cannot figure. I did everything. I was my own agent. I would, yeah, there's not anything. If you want something, it's very cliche, but if you want to do something, there's not many things I wanted to do. Like, I wasn't obsessed with math or science or this and that, but I've always wanted to be a professional footballer. And so I took an interest in all of the capacities. And so whatever it took for me to become that, I was going to do. So, yeah, I would knew how many foreigners were on each team without an EU passport. I knew who was being traded. I knew I was my own agent, or if I had an agent, I would send clips to him every single game, and I would tell him, email this person. I'd find every single email of every single club that I wanted to go to in the top 5 leagues. When I was 17, I think I made a list of the top 5 teams in the top 10 countries in Europe, and gave it to
That's
my dad. And was
unreal.
like, I want to play here and this and that. So yeah, it wasn't until as a women's footballer, you don't have the luxury or like to maybe put your hand up and say, hey, go do this for me. But I didn't mind because I wanted to make all my decisions and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So if you're a young girl coming out of college, there is not one thing that you can't find on the internet to figure out how to do what you want to do. When I was getting my visa for Australia, I just Googled it, what did I need, which documents, and so yeah, that's what I would say.
It's
Don't be
available.
stressed.
It's available,
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't be stressed. And I was doing like 10 jobs at once for myself. Most of the time. Very rarely did I have an agent that did something 100% for me.
Yeah. But sometimes
If
I
only
think
we could.
that's
Sorry, go
really
ahead, John.
important that sometimes you do all of that on your own because you have a different commitment to it.
Mm.
Where if you just say, hey, can you get me on a team, and the agent does everything, you're less involved with the process. But
Yeah,
once you get to the team, you knew how much was involved to get yourself there, that you have a different level of drive than maybe someone else who had it maybe a bit easier.
Yeah, I think for me now, I'd like my brother's my agent now, so he,
Nice.
you know, like I think now I'm more like I don't want to know anything about the visa process. I don't want to know anything about this and that, but I think my goal was to get to that point. You know, I think in the beginning I knew everything because it was either that or bust, and so I think you have to look at yourself realistically and see where you are. And if you're a top 10 prospect, then go ahead, get the agent and let them do the work. You deserve that. I'm not saying that someone doesn't, but I had to be honest with myself and realize, okay, well, there was no plan B if I wanted to be playing over here. It was you figure it out or you sit in the couch in the living room. So just be realistic and that's that. I think that what I always thought was that if I get to this place, then I'll be happy. Then I will relax. And I remember having a moment not too long ago before I signed to after I came home from North Carolina that I just felt like that was all a lie. And it sounds easy now, but when you're living it, you as you guys know, as a professional athlete, you think, oh, if I get to Bayern Munich, my life is set. I'll chill then. But if you are good enough to get there, then your mind will not chill and you will not rest and you will always be looking at the next thing. And so I think it comes with realism. So I think that at my age now, with my maturity, I can be really happy and present and fulfilled in Meppen, but I also can be that way because I'm playing at the highest level and I'm playing in a league that I love and I respect that's amazing. And I think when I was stressed and I wasn't playing at the level that I thought, it was harder for me to be present in that moment. And so I think you do have to push yourself because I'm glad I did push myself because then I got to the level that I was okay with. And then I really can enjoy it. Like when I was going from Iceland to Lugano, I was really proud of myself and I really could enjoy every moment of it. And then my first time around in Germany, maybe I was overwhelmed by it. I wasn't quite, I was a little bit shocked and, a little bit like, oh my God, can I handle all this and stuff? Whereas, or I was thinking about even the next step at that time. And so I think it's definitely is a mix of like, be present and be there, but make sure you get yourself to a place that you want to be present and relaxed in. Like not settling. I didn't want to be present and relaxed in Iceland. I wanted to be somewhere else and I wanted to be at a better level. I thought I deserved better. And so I didn't really rest until that did happen. So now it's about resting in that moment for me and resting in that because I'm happy with the place of where I'm at in the league. So
that's really well said. I really enjoyed that. I especially like what you said about this. I think it's one of the biggest, I don't know, problems, but it's one of the things you see a lot is like I'll be happy when this happens.
Yeah.
Oh, like, I'll be happy. And it's like, it can be as simple as like, oh, I'll be happy when Friday comes around and I'm not working, I have the weekend, or I'll be happy when I get this contract.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for players, for people in general to know that the trust the process thing gets thrown out a lot, but I think there's so much weight to it in terms of like being happy with the steps, knowing you want to go farther, like we've all said, but knowing that that's not going to just switch on and make you happy. It's about taking things, learning experiences, like you said, learning from which ones, you could have maybe handled better or that you did really well and use that for the next contracts. I think that is all a part of this process.
Yeah, because the downside of getting a contract that's going to make you happy, in quotations, is like getting hit in the face with a ton of bucks because then you're left with unhappiness in a place that you don't, it's as important as you can to try to get to your realizations before you get them in the physical world, because, like my coach, I had a meeting with her yesterday to go over some film and she was saying, I'm a bit hard on myself. I'm a bit, this, and she's like, I can tell that you have big ideas and this. And she was like, just relax. You're in the dream place. You're younger. But you're not 35. I'm 29. I'm able to just like enjoy the moment, relax, have a good time. And I think it's so nice to be reminded of that, even as a player who's been playing for a long time, because like sometimes everything you want, you already have, and you're thinking down the road. And I have to remind myself that, like, I'm better at it now, but even my coach yesterday, I'm 29, she's telling me, and I'm thinking, I have everything I want right now. Like, I have, everything that young Kristina when she was 17 dreamed of, and you're thinking that you want something even better. It's so selfish. And so it's disrespectful to the place that you're at. So I think so I could tell a young girl that, I would just tell her that, or a young man.
How do you kind of balance doubt and confidence?
I think what I learned the first time around in Germany was you are going to have bad days and you are going to have good days. And if you play overseas, then you will have maybe more bad days than you will have good days. And you just need to realize that. I don't think it's the case for me anymore now because I feel very accustomed to Europe and, I feel I have family around and stuff. But I try to be like what we said earlier, I try to be as even keel as I can. And it's easier said than done, but it's an active effort because otherwise you can get so caught up in one good day, but you're playing overseas, you might have 3 bad days, and so if you go based off those numbers, then you're going to have a very difficult time. So just if you were living in your home state, your home country, you'd also have good and bad days. And, there are other factors to it. So just try to stay as even keel as you can and don't get caught up.
And how have you, when going to new teams, new countries, how have you adapted to the culture or the team? Kind of, this is like Dylan and I speak about it. When you're in a new place, this is your home. Like, yes, your home, where our home is in New York, but like this is our new home, and you have to think of it like that. And this isn't a vacation. You have to create friends and a group for people like this. When you have bad days, these are people you can hang out with maybe outside of the game and kind of get your mind off the game.
Yeah, I think you guys seem to, I feel like it's something that's definitely been a learned process for me because I have a twin sister. And so I always had a built-in best friend. And, I was always playing and very good on my teams growing up, but she was my social person who kind of brought me into the friend groups. And, I was very much like, oh, I did my job. I played the games. I'm going to, chill or this and that. So I think when you come in, like this year, I made a conscious effort to go in with this as calm and energy, as open to everyone, and to be as understanding and to take things the least personal, and to make the effort to, when you get invited out the first time to go to dinner, you always go. If someone asks you for a car ride, you always go. And then you try to build that as soon as you can, because then when the weather starts to turn or everyone starts tired and you can start to say no to these things, you have a core bond that's given, and to really drop your ego, drop your ego as much as you can coming into a new club, because you have to respect the hometown girls who are working full time and playing, and you're sitting there as a professional, you're doing your job, but go in there, try to laugh, don't get upset if they don't translate, learn a few words, and just try to make friends and understand that you need to do those beginning steps to build those bonds, and I think that's something I put more emphasis on now.
I think it's definitely a learning process too. Like Sean and I will both say, we weren't like, even now, sometimes you don't do it as well, but it's about being conscious about it and saying, how can I do this a little better? And I think each time you do it, like kind of like you said, kind of using that yes rule, you start to open up your network a little bit, and you start to open up your comfort zone a little bit. And then it's just easier to kind of adapt and make that place your home.
Yeah, it actually starts to feel like a home, which I think is it's one of the biggest blessings I've had with this group in Meppen. It feels like I'm in a home. I feel like I have friends, and it's it makes all the world a difference, because you don't feel like they only care about you based what you do in the game or in training. It feels like you're actually a complete human being, which really helps when you're playing overseas.
Now, we spoke about it a bit before, but we like to have this theme throughout the podcast of having a direction and not an end point, because that end point or end goal isn't fulfilling, actually. It's about the process of getting there. And then once you get there, there's always going to be a place where you want to get to next. So where are you now, and what direction do you want to go?
I think where I am now is happy and very present. And then I am reaching for goals, but it's goals within where I am right now. And so I think you can get to a team, you can get to I think your first goal as a player, I want to get to a league. Okay, you get to a league, you get a contract. And then now my focus is to be the best on my team, to be the best in this space. And it's less focused out of leaving and more focused on like, okay, I think Germany is a very difficult place and a very demanding place for women's players and all players. And so I think now it's about how fast can I get up to speed? How fast can I do that? So and I'm still very goal oriented, and I find myself, striving. And it can be a bit harsh, but it's centrally located to what I'm presently doing. And so you can be goal and you can be wanting more, but if you can want more from yourself from where you are in the moment, I think it will serve you.